And so that is our invitation this Lenten season, to enter the story of Jesus, to enter the Passion, to really learn the story and see our place in it. So it begins, this story of the triumphal entry into Jerusalem. That's what it's called. It's actually in all four Gospels. You can find it. You can read similar but a little bit different texts. This was from Matthew 21, it's in Mark 11, Luke 19, and John 12. All with this image of a parade. Or that's what it kind of looks like to us, right? So when was the last time you were at a parade? Or can you think back to a very first parade perhaps you were at? When I was a little girl, we always went to the 4th of July parades downtown Milwaukee. The Baraboo Circus brought the animals in. They don't do this anymore because it's not good for the animals. But as a child, when we didn't know any better, this is what we did. The animals were brought in on the circus train and came down probably Milwaukee Avenue, but I know, or Wisconsin Avenue. We went as a whole family, not just my mom and dad, my brother and I. No. My cousins and my grandparents, I mean, this was a big deal. It probably took 3 cars to get us all down there. And we spent the day in the heat, watching and waiting for all the pieces to come. The bands from the local high schools, and the pom squads from the same schools. And then the mayor and the entourage. And then several community groups and the Elks clubs, and everybody came with their stuff along with the animals. That's one of my first recollections of a parade, and it was a big deal. And then there were the parades we had to go to because my brother was in the marching band and played the trumpet. And so the 4th of July, instead of spending it at the lake, we had to spend it in the little town where my high school was. Because here again, this is what communities did, small town communities so long ago. So think back to what your memories are and where you were. Were you actually in the parade? Or were you a bystander? When Mike and I lived in northern Wisconsin before we moved out here, a small town under about 8,000 people, they had parades occasionally, but you had to go early. Because you wanted to be on the side of the street where the shade was. Because otherwise it was just too hot and humid. So traditions change for strange reasons, I think. Well, we've always been, I've never been in a parade. Like I said, my brother was. I was always a bystander on the wayside. Perhaps you've been both. The story that you heard earlier shows a picture of those 4 young people standing on a balcony watching over the parade. Because it says to us very clearly, they weren't sure they really wanted to be in the crowd. Is that how we are with our faith? It's okay to come to church, but maybe we really don't want to participate in it very much. Because it's safer to be on the outside, right? It's safer to just be at a distance from everything that's going on. I know a couple of years ago, the youth group went downtown somewhere, and I was even afraid for them. They were going to deliver socks, I think, to homeless people, and they were trained to do it, and they were guided to do it, and there were going to be adults with them. But I wasn't going to be with them. And it kind of was, they were going to be with crowds of people. And anytime you have crowds of people, we really don't know what's going to happen, right? This was one of those days, this entry into Jerusalem. You see, the people who had listened to Jesus, they wanted the Roman rule to change so badly. And they were expecting a great king to come into town on a great horse, right? Not on a colt. And then if we go back to the story and listen from Matthew, how did they even get the animal for Jesus to ride in on? And don't get confused. He actually didn't ride in on the colt and the donkey. It talks about them, but it's them probably means the coats that he sat on, more than one. Not that he rode 2 animals in. and that's a little crazy. But he rode the animal in, but beforehand he sends his friends and says to them, and this is why it's important for us to see where we are in the story, right? Because would you believe it, if I would say to Pastor Samara, can you send 2 people before Wednesday night meals, before the students get here, can you send 2 people down to the Bellagio and pick up the Mercedes that's out front there for me? Because I've got some errands I need to run for the church, and that's the vehicle that I want to take. And if they ask me why, just tell them I need the car. What? But this is the story we're given. So Jesus probably knew the people who had the animals. He'd been to Jerusalem before. This wasn't a new thing. But it's important how we pay attention to the details of things, is it not? Where are people on the way in? Where are we on the way in? Are we always wanting to be on the balcony? A safe distance from the crowd. A safe distance from the person with the message. And so now we don't only have parades, but for hundreds of years we've had people who have gathered for other things. To say to a government or to say to a group of people, this is wrong and we want it done this way. And we've seen it on all sides of political aisles. And we see it for all kinds of issues. It isn't just one singular thing that this pops up in humanity that, oh my gosh, we need to have a voice. These people watching Jesus come into Jerusalem wanted a voice against the Roman government because it wasn't pretty. They were being oppressed. And so they were trying to have Jesus be their leader and move away from that. And so that is a question that's for ourselves, for each one of us. Where do we find ourselves in our own faith journey? Where do we find ourselves when it comes to issues of justice? Some people say they don't really like this justice part of Jesus, and I don't think there is a part of Jesus that is not with justice. It's always there. His message is one constantly of lifting the oppressed, of feeding the poor, of clothing the naked. And the list for our modern day goes on and on, does it not? This is our call to faith. Where do we find ourselves in the journey? Do we want to turn our heads and go, oh, no, I'm going to stay on the balcony. It's nice and safe out there. I can even sneak inside and then no one would even know I was here. For us as a church, we stand out in some ways in this justice issue of LGBTQ welcoming. We are a reconciling congregation and have been for years, and next week J.J. Warren's going to be here to speak on this very issue, on the church being real, being a loving place for everyone. Amen. This is who we're called to be. Where will you be? Where will your friends be? Will you come and show up and stand with JJ and stand with us as we proclaim this message of love? And we've done it in other ways, this congregation, but this is the one that's before us right now. Jesus was radical. Therefore, we, as followers of Jesus, are radical as well. We are called to be God in the midst of a hurting and suffering world. Amy Jo Levine, the writer of the book that Pastor Samara is using as a class and where the foundation for this worship series comes from, in the very first chapter of the book, Enter the Passion of Jesus, talks about the show Hello Dolly. And so if you're in the study, you know this. There's a song before the parade passes by that has a line in it. I've got to get in step while there's still time left. I've got to get in step while there's still time left. There is. For us as a church, for you as an individual, for your families. But then this comes. I want to feel my heart come alive. I want to feel my heart come alive. Now, if you were here last week and heard our band and heard our choir and heard the roof come off of this place because of the worship we had, our hearts came alive. That's the place that we do this justice work from. That's the place that we follow Jesus from. That place of aliveness. Because if we're not in that place, then we need some care from our caring community, right? We need someone to come alongside of us and say, let me pray with you and help you get to a place where your heart is alive. We don't leave somebody on the side of the road and just pretend that they're not there, or pretend that, well, if their heart's not alive, I'm going to leave them alone. No! We call everybody to this heart aliveness place. This is our call as followers of Jesus. This is our place in the world. And so this is the beginning of Lent, the beginning of your invitation to enter into this passion. This story of the last week of Jesus' life is emotional. It is filled with the stuff of life, with the good and the bad, and we're going to dive into it all. Show up, be present, enter the passion of Jesus today.